We're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another exciting episode of Across the Border series, where we'll talk about secrets to thriving and not just surviving in various countries. We've had conversations about how you can survive in countries like the US, UK, Canada, Costa Rica. We've talked about how you can survive, even interestingly, in Namibia, because we think when people are looking to relocate, they only think relocation has to be to the Western countries. But I believe that with the right information, if you know that there are other countries that you can explore and have an equally good life, you would also want to go. So this series is about bringing you the I wouldn't say the pros and cons, but bringing the lights about different countries right to you and helping you to make proper decisions to where you should go if you're looking to relocate. Today we're talking about Ireland. Amazing. Like I said, I would always say in my episodes that a lot of people, when they're looking to relocate, it's usually within that axis of Canada, UK, and the US, but they don't think that there are other countries that are very, very amazing for them to consider as well. Before we continue, if you're joining this channel for the first time, please do not forget to subscribe. This is the Grow With Mo channel where we talk everything personal development. This channel is all about helping you to be the best version of yourself and to do well in all that you do. And that is why we are having this episode and this series of Across the Border series today. We have an amazing guest joining us, Dr. Oluwasegun Seriki. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you very much, Magdalene. Thank you so much for having me. Good
You
evening.
know, Yeah, thank you so much. I'm going to say this. I know we said it behind the stage, but I'm going to say it here just to let you know that this channel is a God ordained channel where people who would not do live sessions agree to do live sessions just because they want to be a blessing to you. Thank you so much, Dr. Shegun. I'm super, super honored to have you
You're
join this
welcome.
session today.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. And I'd like to start out by saying thank you both so much for the privilege.
Thank you.
My journey started, I really appreciate you inviting me here. I remember some years ago I was invited by actually the national TV in China to do a live TV session, and I declined. Because I lived in China in 2020, and I'm thinking now that
Yeah,
you refuse to do a national TV interview, and now you're doing a
yeah.
YouTube interview. Well,
A YouTube video.
that's the way God works.
Interestingly, what I believe about sessions like this is it could just be for one person.
True, true,
It could just be God is trying to use sessions like this to just redirect the step of one person.
true,
Because with the right information, you don't make mistakes, you
true,
don't waste years, which I
true.
really believe, which is a very good one to do. So thank you
You're
for
welcome. You're
for
welcome. Glad to be
for
here.
putting me above a national TV.
Glad to be here. Glad to be here. Glad to be here. Glad to be here. Glad to be here.
All right. So, for those of you who are meeting Dr. Shagu for the very first time, Dr. Shagu is a project manager and a strategist with many years of experience who had worked across various continents, Africa, Asia, and even the Europe. And he's been living in Ireland for over 10 years, which is why he's super qualified to talk to you about this country. He can tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly of Ireland. And that is what he's going to be sharing with you today, bearing it all and keeping none for himself. Am I right, sir?
No, definitely, definitely, definitely,
All
definitely,
right.
definitely.
So I like to start my session by asking my guest why they decided to settle in the country that they are currently living.
Thank you very much, Magdalene.
Thank you.
Good evening once again, everyone. My name is Shengo. I came to Ireland in 2015, and I arrived as a PhD candidate. And as I was saying to Magdalene just before the session, that I had actually my first offer for my PhD came from Australia. So I initially thought I was going to Australia. I already had everything figured out, and then the second offer came from New Zealand, and I was almost going to Australia. I had nearly started the visa process, but then the offer to from Ireland came in. And I remember then one of the key reasons why I didn't go to Australia was because they needed what is called proof of funds in the account back then. And for myself, just finishing up for my master's, going back to Nigeria, because I did my master's in China. I did my master's. Actually, I lived in Asia for 2 years, from 2013 to 2015. So, and then I came back to Nigeria very briefly before I came for my PhD. And the only reason why I came to Ireland was simply because Ireland is closer to Nigeria. So because I remember
Okay.
then my parents said, "Oh, when you went to Asia for 2 years, we didn't see you. So if you go to Australia, which is so far away, maybe we'll not see you in
Yes.
the next 10 years." You know, and
Yes.
surprisingly, actually, when I came to Ireland, also for the next 2 years, I didn't go home actually. So I'm not much of a home person like that. So because once I've
Yeah.
left home, I believe that I've left home. So Ireland was
Mm,
basically because of proximity to Nigeria, as aside any other thing. If I had gone to Australia, Australia definitely had the pay was better. New Zealand the same, but then I wanted to be closer to home. My parents are
mm,
going aged. I wanted to at least
yeah.
have that opportunity. If I want to visit, it's just going to be a 6, 7, 8 hour flight. As opposed to if I went to Australia, it would take
Yeah.
me nearly 2 days to come back
Mm,
home if there is any need for me to do so. So that's the primary
mm,
reason why I decided. So I had three offers, and of course I came for a PhD on academic grounds. So
mm.
and yeah, I had three offers. I decided to choose Ireland, and I've enjoyed it ever since then.
Interested. If you have the opportunity to go back to Australia or New Zealand, would you rather go there, or you
Oh
think
well,
you would eventually prefer Ireland?
go- thinking back, I think the only thing is, and this is going to be factual. This is going to be
Yeah.
very fact based. If you are a PhD student in Australia, your PhD time period counts towards your residency. So, but
Okay.
in Ireland, the 4 years you spend doing your PhD is equal to zero. So you don't
Mm,
count. So there's no. So I only started counting my residency from after my PhD. So that's the only downside. So if I was to think over it, for example, if I went to Australia, I would have been a citizen of Australia 5 years ago. Do you understand? And that would have given me probably mobility. Do you understand me? But then
yes.
I would say that I would choose Ireland all over again, most likely, because Ireland is where this is where my family has grown to. I mean, we've settled in
Yeah.
into Ireland, so
Yeah.
I'd say that I will choose Ireland again.
Amazing. Okay,
Yeah,
so beyond the fact that you have settled in with your family in Ireland, I want to believe that there are also other things about the country that
of
you
course.
would rather choose over other countries. Could you share some of those things with us?
Oh yeah, thank you very much. That's a good question. Well, Ireland number one, I'd say that one of the key things is that while everyone has their own bias,
Mm,
every country, I believe that every country has their downsides. People always, for example, when I came here, I worked in the university, and we had only two black lecturers out of 4,000 staff. We had only two
wow.
black lecturers out of 4,000 staff, and the two black lecturers were people that have been here since the 80s. You understand? So
Mm,
they've lived there nearly all their life.
our
So
lives,
when we
yeah.
started going into lecturing to apply in my university in particular, started trying to apply for lecture, people were like, "Oh, they don't give people who are black, they don't give them opportunities." Now, some people listen to that and they decided allowed that to kind of define their experience. But when I came in, I was very optimistic. I kept submitting applications. I submitted applications to the point that the day I got my job offer, the HR lady called me and said, "Do you ever stop? You just keep sending applications. You keep sending us applications. Like, why do you keep doing this?" I was like, "Yeah,
Mm,
because that's the Nigerian spirit. We don't give up."
absolutely,
You understand?
yeah.
But the reality is that these same people who were talking about supposed racism, as it
Mm,
were, has been a barrier to job opportunities, they forgot that when I was in Nigeria, I had a first class degree during my master's. I attended one of the top 10 institutions in the world in China. Tsinghua University is top 10 in
yeah.
engineering in the world. And
Yes.
I came back, one of the best graduate students of that year, and I got a job in NDDC. But because
Mm,
I was not a South person, that offer was
mm,
rescinded. What do we call
mm.
that? They will say it's tribalism. It's not tribalism.
Tribalism.
It's actually racism. So if I face racism in my own country, and then
Mm,
I come somewhere else and I'm saying we are being unrealistic. Racism
mm.
happens everywhere. It happens both in
Everywhere.
Nigeria.
Mm,
So I lost that NDDC opportunity just because I bore a name that was non-South. And I remember sitting in the office in Port Harcourt, my offer letter, everything was being put, and they were like, "Where are you from?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm from Ogun State." Ah, they said, "Omo Yoruba, Omo Yoruba, you want to come and take a job in South South." We're like, "No,
mm,
no, 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 that's not gonna happen." And the man just took the letter and said, "You're not getting this job. I'm sorry." And he said
Wow.
something profound. He said, "Look, I went to a polytechnic. You are coming here with a master's degree. In a few years,
Mm.
you're going to become my boss. I'm not going to let that
Mm.
happen. I'm not going to let that happen." And then he said, "Look,
Mm.
they are not going ahead with it." And I lost that offer on that basis. So, but if
Wow.
I face that while in Nigeria and I come here, and maybe because of one or two scruples that I have with, maybe I was not shortlisted, and then I decide to give up, then I'm not being realistic.
Mm.
Racism or tribalism is as much in Nigeria as it is anywhere else in the world. But then it
Mm.
depends on where do you decide to look. Are you looking on the positive or are you looking on the negative? I remember
Mm.
when I got my offer, excuse me, as a lecturer, people were like, "Oh, definitely you know someone, or he was doing something." No, I didn't. I didn't know anyone.
Mm.
It was just the system. I just
Mm.
kept applying, kept upskilling, ensuring that I was developing myself. And one more thing, Magdalene, that and I'll say this very publicly, is that
Mm.
when I came from Nigeria, I used to speak like this. "Hello, good afternoon. My name is Shegun." But then you want to be a lecturer to Irish
Yes.
students Irish students that they've grew up all their life listening to teachers that have an accent. And then you come in
Yes.
and you want to maintain, you say, "Oh, I want to maintain my originality. I'm from Nigeria. I have to
Mm.
be a Nigerian man." If you are not communicating, there's no point in being a lecturer. There's no point in you being
Mm.
an academic. So
Mm.
if immigrants want to actually blend, it's not that we are forming. You're not forming, but you're not
Mm.
communicating when you are saying, "Hello, my name is Shegun. How are you?" All of that kind of stuff. It doesn't
Yes.
work. It doesn't work. I had to adapt
Mm.
an Irish accent such that when I stood in the classroom,
Mm.
when I talked to students, they understood me. Some of them they will keep saying when you
Mm.
speak, especially when you speak with my Nigerian heavy Yoruba accent, I begin to speak. They're going to be like,
Yes.
and I'm teaching construction. I'm teaching a very practical,
Yes.
hands-on course that
Yes.
needs, and I need to visit them on site, talk to their supervisors.
Mm.
That's the problem. Many of us are so
Mm.
stuck in our old ways, or we are so
Mm.
saying, "I want to remain traditional." Some people will go to class and they will sew Ankara and they will go to the you are not going to get anywhere. You are not a
Mm.
professor of African studies. You are a civil
Mm.
engineer. You dress like
Yeah.
one. Do you
Yeah.
understand? So if
Yes.
people keep saying, "Oh, I want to maintain my African identity," oh God, live in Lagos, live in Ibadan, and keep your African identity. Wear your fila, whatever. I had a friend who did that for
Mm.
a while, and but he noticed that his students were not close to it. They were not communicating because
Mm.
number one, you're wearing something that's they're not used to. You are not even getting
Mm.
them curious. You are just saying, "I want to be my own thing," and then we isolate
Mm.
ourselves, and as a result, but then you had to blend into the system. What do they
Mm.
understand? You begin to speak like them, not because you are forming, of course not, but it's
Mm.
because you want to blend into the system. Do you understand? Because
Mm.
there's no point in you being a lecturer and then you are not communicating to people. Totally,
Mm.
it doesn't matter. It doesn't work. Do you understand?
Mm.
So I believe that
Yeah.
that's one of the things that helped me. I began to blend in, not because I have not lost my identity. I'm Nigerian.
Yes.
I speak Yoruba very easily. You understand me? But then I knew that in order to be able to go into this kind of space, I need
Yes.
to I need to adapt.
Mm.
That's what I call it, adaptation. That's
Yes.
what it is. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Shegun. I
No
picked a
problem.
few things from what you have shared. The first one is about the tribalism and the racism. At the
Yes.
end of the day, it's like we're playing semantics. We are saying the
Yes.
same thing,
It's the same thing.
actually, but we are using different words to describe them,
That's it.
and
That's it.
that leads me to another thing that you said, which is the way to overcome the feeling um tribalism or racism, which is not giving up.
True. True. Yeah.
Because like you said, people would say there are battles everywhere, just choose your battle wisely. would i
Exactly.
rather yes would I rather be in this space suffering the same thing, or be in a better space suffering the same thing, knowing that when
Exactly.
I come out of a particular space, what awaits me at the other side is a lot better. So I think I really like that this touches not just on Ireland, it speaks to literally every country.
Everywhere. Yeah, that's
Where
it.
you find yourself anywhere, do not allow the thought of racism or even the
Yes.
comments of racism
True.
make you slow down on the things you should keep chasing. We are Africans, we are Nigerians, we do not give up. Even at home, even here in Nigeria, somebody is looking for a job, you're done with school, and you're looking for a job for 1 year, 2 years, you don't get a job. But when
That's
you are
it.
abroad and you're looking for a
That's
job
it.
for 1 year or 2 years, it then begin to look like the country is not working for you. But that's
Exactly.
really not the
Exactly.
case. So I
Exactly.
hope that that point really changes somebody's mindset who's listening to this session to
True.
understand that challenges are the same everywhere. It is the right mindset that helps you to overcome it. And
That's it.
also, the part about adapting to wherever you find yourself, as much as you want to maintain originality, understand that it's easier for you to settle into a place when you adapt to the system, know
That's
how
it.
it works, and adapt
That's
to
it.
it. And then with that,
That's it.
I'm sure you can succeed, just like Dr. Shengu is today.
Exactly. Thank you. And I say one point. A lot
Yeah.
of I believe that a lot of people they're not being realistic. When I go to China, for instance, I found out that because anybody who has studied China will tell you if you study in China, you have to have a Chinese name because they will ask
Mm.
you. They have to register you with a Chinese name. So essentially,
Oh,
you have
wow.
to choose a Chinese name. Why?
Mm.
Because most Western names they know that they can't pronounce it. So every single student in China who is a foreigner
Mm.
will have to choose a Chinese name.
Mm.
And in choosing that Chinese name, that's what you are called. But on your
Yeah.
certificate, they will put your
Your
English name
original
or your
name.
Yoruba name,
Yeah.
whatever. But then,
Mm.
so when we get to this country, and some people, for example, I in college, a lot of people just call me Olu, or some people call me
Okay.
Seriki, or they call me Shegun, and all of that. That's fine.
Mm.
But then some people say, you have to call me my full name.
My
Oh,
full name.
my full name. Magdalene, my full name is Oluwasegun Fumiton. How do
Oh,
you
interesting.
how do you want your line manager to be calling and say Oluwasegun Fumiton? You are just stressing
Yeah.
the guy's life.
You're stressing
So
them.
as a
Mm.
result, the manager will not start avoiding you just because he knows that you have a
Yes.
problem. You say that guy, just leave him where it is, and that's why people will not grow. So if you
Mm.
call me Olu, fine. Seriki, fine. Oluwasegun, fine. If you can't call me. Do you understand? So, but
Mm.
someone will go to China and get my own Chinese name was Okay. Do you understand? And I can still pronounce it
Okay.
very well. Just it was a
Okay.
compendium of my first name and my last name, Oluwasegun Seriki
Mm.
and all that. You understand? Fine.
Mm.
But then someone else comes to the West and says, they have to call me my full name. Oluwasegun Fumiton is my full name.
Mm.
If you cannot call it, that means that that's microaggression. That's not microaggression. It's just like
Mm.
you cannot call. It's very hard for you to call Kaplinsky or to call
Yeah.
a name from Russia. The same
Mm.
way it's hard for us to do the same is how it's difficult for them. So don't get to a
Absolutely.
workplace and then you are very adversarial. You're trying to you must call my full certificate name Oluwasegun Fumiton and even put the accent on top. Well, doing that, don't will help the person.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Shegun.
No
Okay, so
problem
let's
at
talk
all.
about what the culture is like in Ireland,
Mhm,
especially as it relates to immigrants. How
mhm.
friendly is Ireland to immigrants, and how easy is it for an immigrant to settle in Ireland?
I'll thank you for that question. Yeah. My first job in Ireland, actually, I'll go to my first job in Ireland. I started out, I was a PhD student. I was working for someone who had a living cert. He had a school cert, essentially. And one of the reasons why I decided to do that was because I wanted to get into the job market. Do you understand? So I knew that the culture was very heavily, it's a closed society.
Okay.
Ireland works mostly on base of referral
Oh.
than you submit the applications online. No, no.
Mm.
Most of the
Yeah.
jobs are internally kind of recruited referrals and
Mm.
all of that. And I was a student. I was allowed to work 20 hours a week. I was only doing
Mm.
6 hours of lecturing. I needed something else to supplement my income, and I went to
Yes.
work as like a messenger somewhere.
Mm.
And I remember going there, and then the guy asked me a very critical question, which I had read about in Ireland. Are
Yes.
you Protestant or are you Catholic?
Mm.
That question is massive in Ireland. That question alone. Are you
Yeah.
Protestant or are you Catholic? Why?
Catholic.
Because it's something embedded in Irish history about the north and
Mm.
south of Ireland that I would not like to go into,
Mm.
and all of that.
Yes.
But I understood the precarious nature of that question during my interview. He asked a very simple question. So if you
Mm.
are not culturally sensitive, you will just say,
Mm.
me, I am, you know. And I said to the man, I said, no, I'm just, well, I'm not, I don't identify as any of such. I
Mm.
believe in God. I believe in Jesus. And then it was like,
Mm.
that's a smart one, and all of that. And he
Mm.
said, okay, look, he said, I'll talk to you later then, because definitely he knew I wasn't Catholic. You understand me?
Yes.
And as a result, but few days down the line, I got the job. Why?
Mm.
Because I understood the sensitive nature of that issue.
Mm.
Some people will want to enter into a culture, or they want to enter into a market or a country and not
Yeah.
read about the historical precedents. You understand? For example, I
Yes.
lived when I was renting also, I lived with a British landlord. And then he
Okay.
came and asked me the same question. How I will respond
Okay.
to a British man is different from how I will
Mm.
respond to an Irishman. Why? Because
Irish. Yeah.
it's a thing of contention that the thing went on for hundreds of years. And it has
Mm.
been on and on like that. Till now, it is still an issue. So, and
Mm.
I don't meddle in the local politics. All I just told him was
Mm.
that, look, I'm not going to be talking about your local politics. And he said, no, I want to tell you the British side. And he said the British
Mm.
side, and I listened to him. I listened,
Mm.
and the man took me in and was my landlord for years. You understand? Now, why am I saying that? Understand the culture, learn
Yeah.
about the culture, and you
Mm.
can fit in. If you don't learn about the culture, for example, in Ireland, Ireland has a very social, for example, we have what we call pub culture, where a lot
Okay.
of deals, a lot of things are sealed in the pub. Do you understand me? A lot of stuff
Yes.
are settled in the pub. So even if you don't drink, you're not a, you don't drink or you don't socialize. Sometimes there's a limit on how far you can go in your career
Mm.
or in life generally if you don't
Yes.
socialize around, pubs and all of that. So understanding those social
Yeah.
kind of issues will be very key into settling in Ireland. If you don't understand them, you might just say something or do something that, for example, in Ireland, when I came here, in
Mm.
Ireland, people ask you, if they say hello to you, hello can be what's
Yeah.
the crack? That's
Oh, okay.
that's yeah. What's the crack? When I came,
Mm.
I almost felt offended by that. When you say what's the crack? Are you talking about crack cocaine?
Yeah.
Are you talking about crack cocaine? And I started feeling like, is it because I'm black? Is that why you're asking me
Mm.
about crack? But what's the
Mm.
crack is
Like,
essentially
what's up?
means what's up? What's the story? And all of
Yeah.
that. So imagine someone who didn't read or just doesn't know about how Irish slangs or how Irish everyday parlance works. You might
Yeah.
feel, even when I came in here, for me coming from Nigeria, someone asking me, "Are you all right?" is an insult.
Of course.
So someone comes to me and say, "Oh, Olu, are you all right?" And I'm like, say the way I look like this, you think I'm not okay, happy? You
Yeah.
understand? But then you have to be able to. I lived in China. China
Mm.
has a very strong. They have a very strong. What's it called? They have a very strong slang called nigger.
Okay.
In America, nigger means nigger. It means it's a
Yeah.
very offensive word. But in China, it means this one. So when they're
Mm.
talking, they can say, "Oh, this one, nigga, trigger." They just say, "Oh, nigga." And when I got
Mm.
there, my friends, Ghanaians, we all got angry, thinking that. So I'm just making this point about
Yeah.
understanding what works in one culture that doesn't work in another culture. Do you understand? So
Absolutely.
it's very
Yeah.
critical. For example, in Ireland, it is a very social country, but it can be very know when to draw people close and know when to be distant. For example, I remember when I was doing my PhD, I shared the information with some of my colleagues that I was sending money home to Nigeria, and they reported
Mm.
me. They reported
Wow.
me and said, "Why would you be sending money home? You're a PhD student. You should not be. Your money is for you and for you alone. Why you?" And that
Mm.
became a very big issue. But for me,
Wow.
taking care of your parents, your family at
Mm.
home is part of our
It's
culture. But for them,
normal. Yeah.
it's not cultural. For them, they see it as your family members or some people are exploiting you. So they actually reported me to my line manager and said they're exploiting
Okay.
that guy. They are taking all his money
Mm.
from Nigeria. And my boss called me and
Mm.
said, "No, you can't. You are not allowed to send money. Your money
Mm.
is for you and for you alone." So
Mm.
understanding what to say and what not to say, understanding
Mm.
what to divulge and what not to divulge, understanding those cultural nuances is
Yeah.
very, very important for you to
Mm.
thrive both in the workplace and anywhere else.
Interesting. Thank you so much, Dr. Shengu, for
No,
sharing
no
that.
problem at all. No
So,
problem.
I want us to talk about somebody who, um, you are in that lecturing line, but I
Yes.
also believe that not everybody will want to come to Ireland
Yeah.
through the lecturing route. So somebody
Sure, sure.
who has a career in Nigeria, for instance, and
Mhm.
then is looking to relocate to the country with the expectation of continuing their profession. How does that work? Does the system allow for that, or they have to start all over?
Oh, thank you for that, Magdalene. I recently advised someone in that space. He used to be a banker, and
Mm.
he wanted to relocate to, and he's here now. Actually, he's here in Ireland
Oh,
now. I think he works for Western Union now in Ireland, and all he
wow.
just did was to kind of, well, all I told him was to start
Mm.
specializing. You know, there's something in Ireland we call critical skills visa,
Mm.
and it just anybody who needs that information can just Google it. There are like 40 or 50 occupations on that list that
Mm.
if you get a job in any of those areas, that's the place where we have shortage. So if you
Yes.
get any job in any of those areas, you can get what we call the critical skills visa. And that visa gets ready under 3 weeks.
Oh,
So
wow.
unlike the general employment permit that will take 3 months, that visa
Mm.
gets ready under 3 weeks and also allows you to bring your family immediately with you.
Mm.
For a general employment permit, you can't bring your family with you. You can't bring kids or wife until maybe after 6 months. But for the critical
Okay.
skills visa, they have insurance, they have medicine, nursing, academics like myself. They
Yeah.
have so many professional mechanical engineers, civil engineers,
Mm.
quantity surveyors, people who work in fintech. People
Mm.
even who do graphics design are part of that
Mm.
list. Many people don't even know that. Do
Wow.
you understand that
Wow.
people can actually relocate to Ireland on that basis? So, but that list
Mm.
is called critical skills visa list, and it's
Mm.
updated regularly. Sometimes they expand it to increase the
Mm.
number of occupations in there, and sometimes they bring it down a bit when the quota has been reached. So, critical skills
Okay.
visa list. That is where they can. I know several people that have done it. I have several friends and colleagues that have come to
Mm.
Ireland on that basis, apart from academia.
Mm.
Do you understand? So
Okay.
anyone
Yeah.
looking to relocate to Ireland on that basis, whether there are two different types, there's one called general employment permit, and that one is
Yes.
takes longer because that one is specialized professions. But for critical
Mm.
skills visa, any job on that list, any job on that list, once you get the job offer,
Mm.
you can apply for critical skills visa.
Okay. So how does that really work? Is it a case of you apply to a company over there in
First,
Ireland
yes, yes,
until
you
they
apply
give you?
first. Yeah,
So it's
and
until they give you the employment before you can
well,
apply
I
for the
think
visa.
I would advise anyone who wants to do that that when you are interviewing, if they don't
Okay.
ask you about your visa status, don't say anything yet. The
Okay.
reason why I say so is not because you're trying to hide, but it's because sometimes some HR personnel don't even know that there are other visa categories. So the
Mm.
best thing for you to do is get yourself that offer letter first.
Mm.
When you get that offer letter, then you can then proceed to tell them and say, well, I might need sponsorship
Yes.
because yeah, I am not in Ireland at the moment and
Mm.
all of that. Because I know someone recently who actually did that and got the offer first. And after a while, they said, look, we don't actually process this visa, but we have a company that does it for us. Would you
Okay.
like to go to that company? And she said, fine. And then she did that, and the company have a charge, and they paid
Mm.
the charge, and she's here today doing her work.
Mm.
Do you understand?
Mm.
So, but
Yeah.
at the start, when you put the negatives, when you put the cart before the horse, when you put the
Yes.
negative, I don't have this how. Let me tell you before I do. You've already
Mm.
made the HR feel like no. But let them check your competencies first. Let them see
Yeah.
that you are the man for the job, and then they will go
Mm.
to any length. For example, companies like Accenture, Google, Amazon, they naturally will sponsor. They have
Mm.
thousands of slots for sponsorship. But for the smaller
Okay.
companies, and I would ask people also don't focus too much on the big companies.
Mm.
They are not the only ones out there. There are smaller companies
Yes.
that can also sponsor you as long
Mm.
as you prove that you are indispensable, you are unique, and you have the competencies that they need.
Mm.
You understand me? They will go the extra mile to ensure they get you in.
Interesting. Thank you so much. So when we started
Okay.
the session, you talked about when you first moved
Yes.
into the country, how there were just, I think, four lecturers or
Yeah, yeah.
so
No, there was two. There was two of
among
them. Two, two. In my
two
university, there
black
are two lecturers.
lecturers.
Yeah, two black
Yes,
lecturers
two
out
black
of four
lecturers out
thousand.
of
Out of four
4,000.
thousand
Yeah, out
staff.
of
Yeah,
4,000. All right.
yeah.
Now, um, is that I want that was like many years ago,
Yes,
but
yes. 10 years ago.
today we believe that a lot of things must have changed.
Of
Is
course,
that
yeah.
still
A
the
lot
same
of things. Yeah.
situation? Yeah, in terms of opening up to immigrants and allowing immigrant opportunities as well. Is there any kind of change in that regard?
There's been a whole lot of changes. Now,
Okay.
in the sense of, for example, I remember that when I left, because I no longer teach anymore, I now do project management for the university. So I'm now more of a
Okay.
project manager rather than an academic who teaches.
Lecturer.
And,
Yeah.
and I'll tell you the reason why I left academia as well. I've been teaching, core teaching. I'll say that for people who are looking to learn from that. That I was in academia teaching for 5 years, thereabouts. And while I was teaching, what I was doing was I was encouraging other people who are black to start applying. So, for
Okay.
example, I will get queries on LinkedIn, someone from Malaysia. He actually came here and now he's in the US. He has gone on the EB1
Okay.
visa to the US. But I would always encourage them and say, look, this thing is not that difficult. As long as you have the right skills, the right competencies, Ireland is very open in that
Mm.
sense. Because in Ireland, how many people have PhDs? Probably 10,000 or less. 10,000
Yeah.
people or less have PhDs. And we have how many? In our university alone, we have 4,000 staff. Now imagine
Yeah.
across many universities. So that means that there's a huge
Mm.
shortage. So if you have a PhD, for instance, or you have an advanced degree, say a master's, you can always
Mm.
apply. And I remember in the unit I worked after my first, after lecturing, I was the
Yes.
only black person there when I entered. 5 years after I left, there are four black people now still working there. And these are
Wow.
people that I personally kind of coached for their
Yeah.
interviews and help
Okay.
them get into the role. You understand me? So I left four
Mm.
people in that unit still working there, doing very well. Do you understand? So I would say that at the
Mm.
moment now the landscape is
It's a lot
much more different.
better.
Much more
Okay.
different. But
Amazing.
still,
Amazing.
people still have this idea. Well, as I said, you choose who you listen to. They'll say,
Absolutely.
they won't take you, they won't take you. Well,
Mm.
if you believe they won't take you, they won't take you. That's it.
Yeah.
So that's always been my belief. If you believe they won't take you, they won't take you. But if you believe that there's a possibility in there, and also you are sure of yourself, you are not
Mm.
you didn't get here by accident. You believed in
Mm.
yourself, you've done the work, you've done the hard work. All your
Mm.
credentials are in your name, they're not in someone else's name. So you've done the
Yes.
hard work, you've been there, done that. When you come in, you should be confident enough, and then you should be able to, and then trust for the best, trust for the best outcome in the end.
Interesting. Thank you so much.
No
So,
problem.
this conversation is literally to see how we can help those who are looking to relocate to Ireland
Yeah.
make a good decision as to if Ireland is a good place for them to go or they should consider other places. So,
Okay.
very briefly, I want you to help us talk about the good side of Ireland for somebody who is thinking, should I come to Ireland? And then the side of Ireland that isn't exactly the good side that they should also be aware so they are not shocked when they get there.
Thank you, Magdalene. I was just smiling at
Yeah.
my wife there. So that question is one that. For now, I'll go back to Nigeria before I
Okay.
start. When I
Mm,
worked in Nigeria, I wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning. I leave
mm.
home at 5 a.m. in the morning, and I will not get to work until around 9. Okay, Magdalene. Coming back, I'll leave
Okay.
work at 5. I'll get home around 9 again. I was
Dr.
living my
Shegun,
life, being my big boy.
things are a lot better now. Things are a lot
Yeah, no,
better
in
now.
Lagos, in Lagos. I used to do that in Lagos. Now, I was doing that. I was living my big boy life. Then
Yes.
people will come to Ireland, and then you
Mm,
tell them, don't live in Dublin. Just live 1 hour bus ride away from Dublin. 1 hour. It's too far out. 1 hour.
mm.
I mean, why in Lagos, you will sit inside one way traffic for 4 hours
Yeah.
to go to work
Mm,
and come back. Many of us are not being honest with ourselves. If you come to
mm,
Ireland, my best advice for you: don't stay in the big cities. Don't stay in
mm,
Dublin. I've worked in Dublin for nearly 10 years now, but I've not lived in Dublin for more than a year.
mm.
Every other, I live outside of Dublin. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And I'm saying it that with all humility. I'm not saying it to brag, as it's where I
Mm,
live outside of Dublin is
mm,
far better. You won't get a 4 bedroom big house like this in Dublin at the price we got it. You understand? So why am
Yes.
I
Yes.
saying this? A lot of people have this fixation on major cities. They say, social
Mm,
life, blah, blah, blah. But then when you
okay.
ask them, why don't you move a bit outside of Dublin? Why don't you move to somewhere like Kildare, which is a bit outside of Dublin, or,
Mm.
Navan and all of that? You'll be like, no, 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 I want to stay in the center where it is happening. That's why half of your salary, that's why half of your salary is going to rent. Do you
Mm.
understand? So, but if you stay in
Yeah.
somewhere like, I remember when we moved to Longford, my my salary then was, but my rent was less than maybe one third of my salary. And I have that
Mm.
formula that if you're coming to Ireland to succeed, don't let your rent be more than one third of your salary. If you the moment your
Yes.
rent costs more than one third of your salary, then you are not going to be able to balance in due time.
Yes.
You understand me?
Yes.
So don't be fixated on big cities. For example, even if
Yes.
you work in Galway or in Cork, move outside a bit, do that commute. And when you are in the bus, a lot of people in Nigeria do it, where when they are going to work, they do their NSPPD, they do their Pastor
Yeah.
Bolaji Dowu and all that. You
Yeah.
understand me?
Mm.
Sit down in your bus and do that for 1 hour
Mm.
or 1 hour, 30 minutes. I live 2 hours away from Dublin. You understand me? I have been
Mm.
doing that easily. So, but compared to the 4 hours I was doing in Lagos, it's much better
Yeah.
off. So, but
Okay.
we can't eat our cake and have it. If we want
Yes.
to thrive and you're coming to Ireland, some employers will say that okay, for the first few months, stay close to the office. Yeah, get to know the
Okay.
land. But after
Yes.
that, begin to plan to move outside because that's the way you
Okay.
can save. If you want to stay in Dublin, for example, in Dublin, you can get a two-bedroom now for 2,800 euros a
Mm.
month, and maybe your salary is 3,500. If you're already paying
Mm.
2,800 euros a month, and then you're only left with 700 euros, that's too small. You understand? So,
Yes.
but if you come to somewhere like Longford, where you can pay 1,000 euros for a two-bedroom, a very
Mm.
nice big two-bedroom, then why do you have to
Mm.
live, so close when you can just take that commute? And in these days where there's hybrid working, a lot of offices
Yes.
actually have hybrid working now. 3 days a week
Yeah.
in the office, two at home.
2 days
Why
at
don't you
home.
just
Yeah.
live on the outskirts instead? So I would advise anyone who's coming here for the first few months, stay close to the office. But once you settle in, excuse me, or when you pass your probation, the moment you pass
Mm.
your probation, move outside so that you can begin to save money. You understand me? So because while the system here can be tricky, some people say, okay, I'll just apply for social housing. Yeah, social housing it has its benefits, but then you won't be eligible for it until you actually become a permanent resident and all of that. So it might be best for you to just plan with, okay, if I'm going to get a mortgage down the line, I'm going to start saving up. And how do you save
Yeah.
up? Go somewhere cheap, live a bit outside of Dublin, and do the commute. It's easier that, and it
Okay.
also gives you some space to think. You're on the, for
Okay.
example, I take the train.
Mm.
Gives you some space, and there are actually employer-based subsidies for taking
Okay.
commutes when you're commuting. It's called
Yes.
we have tax saver opportunities where you can get some tax benefits because you are commuting to work. And all that. We have bike to work scheme and all of that. So it's very anyone who is looking to move to Ireland, I would say that while Ireland's tax rate may be a bit strange, for people when they come around, but I would say that if you manage your income well, if you have a
Mm.
good plan and you manage your income well, I would say that
Mm.
Ireland is still I mean you thrive. You thrive in Ireland. You
Okay.
thrive. You
Okay.
thrive. So I don't think I'm going anywhere soon.
Yeah.
Uh,
Thank you so much, Dr.
no,
Shagun.
no, no
I'm
problem at
trying to
all.
be mindful of the time. If not,
No problem
I
at
mean,
all.
I
No.
have a lot of questions I really want to ask
I
you
understand. I
because
understand.
too many questions I want to ask you because I want us to like dig really deep and get people to
Sure,
really
sure,
understand the
sure.
intricacies of living in Ireland. But of course, we do not
Yes,
have that
yes.
much time. So just to
No
wrap
problem
up,
at
I
all.
would like you to just share with us the various routes for those who are looking to relocate to Ireland that Ireland opens up to immigrants.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. That's an area where I'm passionate about. Because me, I'm
Okay.
not someone that I don't like keeping secrets. I love people to come around and for example, some people call me Daddy of Ireland. Yeah, I love it. I love picking people up from the airport. I love picking people up from the
You
airport.
need
And if
neighbors.
if you are listening to this, I know people who
Yeah.
through Twitter actually came to Ireland, based on what I used to do in the past, talk about
Yeah.
Ireland. They came to Ireland, I picked them up from the airport. And if you are listening to this
Wow.
podcast, you can get a free airport pickup from me. If you mention that you listen to Magdalene's
Thank
podcast, I can
you.
pick you up from the airport for free if you
Thank
relocate
you
to
so
Ireland as a
much.
result of this. So just mention my name.
Yes, thank you.
I'll do you that favor. Do you understand now?
Thank you
So there
so
are four
much.
routes.
Yeah.
There are four routes primarily to come to Ireland. Number one is education.
Mm,
Either you come here for a master's degree, which is the most expensive. The
okay.
average master's degree in Ireland now is 14 or 13,000 euros. Some
Wow.
universities have some programs that are like 10,000 euros. And then
Mm,
after that 10,000 euros, you need to show proof of funds of another 10,000 euros. But if you
wow.
can come, if you can afford to come on that kind of visa, you get access to what we call a 2 year post study visa. And I
Mm,
can assure you that if you associate with the right people, if you have the right community, in those 2 years, you will get a job that will sponsor you. I've tested that principle. It has worked for virtually everyone I know. Do you understand?
mm,
So in
mm,
those 2 years, you will get sponsorship. That is, I know the job market in Ireland is favorable enough at that level.
okay.
Do you understand? So that's the
Yeah.
first route, the student route. Either that, or you can, for the student route, if you cannot afford the fees, if you are very bright and you had a first class or a 2-1 in your
Mm,
bachelor's degree, then you can apply for what we call the Research Island scholarships. The Research
okay.
Island scholarship, it is opening next month actually. For 2026, it is opening next month. And all you have to do is get a supervisor that will supervise you, agree a topic, and
Yeah.
apply for it. It gives you 25,000 euros a year in subsistence. They pay your fees and all the rest of
Mm,
that. So if you
mm,
can, if you had a 2-1 or you had a first class, you can go that route. If you didn't, then it's best for you to just pay your way. If you can afford it, pay and come to Ireland on the basis of studies. That's number one.
yes.
The second
Okay.
route is if you are a tech or a professional that is on the critical skills visa list, which I
Okay.
mentioned earlier. You can
Yeah.
download that. Maybe Magdalene later on in the comment section of your Facebook page, you can put the link to the
Okay.
list
Okay.
there, where people can, anyone whose job function is on that list, they can
Mm,
apply to companies that are operating that area. And
mm,
then those companies, once they get an offer, then they can begin to speak with the HR, and the HR will definitely
okay.
just let them know that you apply for the critical skills visa, and
Okay.
he will walk you through that process. So, for
Mm,
example, people who are medical technologists, doctors,
yeah.
nurses, even healthcare assistants sometimes
Mm,
can apply for that visa. Tech people, software developers, even people who work in insurance. I actually found
mm,
recently that people who work in insurance are actually on that list as well. So
okay.
if you work in insurance, for example, you have 5 years of working actuarial sciences insurance, you can also
Yeah.
apply for that. But the only thing about it is you have to have a job offer before you can apply
Okay.
for it. Okay, so that's the
Okay.
second route. The
Yeah.
third route is the general employment permit. That is
Okay.
the one where it is open to every industry. Say, for example, you're a
Mm,
chef, you even for people who pick fruits, people who work on the farm, fruit pickers,
yes.
people who work
Mm,
in farms, people who work in care homes, cleaners can apply for it, but it has a salary threshold. You have to be
okay.
paid minimum, I think, 30,000 euros a year. So your offer, and to be honest, the minimum wage at the moment is around 27,000 a year. So that means
Okay.
that you have to be paid a little bit above the minimum wage. But why the general employment permit is different from the critical skills is that, number one, critical skills usually takes 3 weeks a month to get approved, and also
Mm,
it has family unification. General
yes.
employment permit, you can only come by yourself. Your
Okay.
family can only come with you in 6 months' time or even up to a year. That's number one.
Mm,
Number two, the job needs to be advertised outside of
mm,
the EU. And if nobody applies, then they can justify giving it to you. But for the critical skills, it
okay.
does not need to be advertised outside of the EU. Once they advertise that they give you the job, that's it. So, but for the general
Okay.
employment permit, it takes a longer time, longer process. That job, first of
Mm,
all, needs to be advertised across the EU. And if nobody picks it up, and luckily you are still the only applicant or you are the best applicant for the job, then they
yeah.
can apply for what is called, and that won't cost them money. It costs them, I think,
Yeah.
1,000 euros. And sometimes some
Okay.
companies are very lazy to pay that fee. But I would
Okay.
advise you, just as a tip, If the company says they are not able to pay it, if you can afford it, offer to pay it. Do you understand? But
Okay.
that 1,000 euros,
Yes.
you will get it back once you get your job going and all
Mm.
of that. So that's three routes now. One, two, three. The fourth
Yeah.
one, which is the route I used, is the one that is mostly underexplored.
Okay.
And it is what I call a researcher hosting agreement visa. It is for people, you
Okay.
don't have to be a researcher. As long
Mm.
as you have a master's degree, or even if you have a bachelor's degree, you can
Yeah.
apply for it. But what you need to do is to look for a job with an academic. Jobs that
Mm.
have the title research assistant, any research related job, as long as it's a
Mm.
job and it's paid, you can apply
Yes.
for this visa. And this visa also takes 3 weeks. But it is not
Yes.
processed through the visa office, it is processed through what they call U access. So, and
Okay.
it's all done online, very efficient process. I used that process after I finished my PhD. And the reason
Mm.
why I said it is one of the best is that, unlike the critical skills visa, you don't have to have specialist skills of tech or whatever.
Yeah.
As long
Mm.
as you have a job that is a research assistant role and you have the qualifications for that
Mm.
job, that visa
Mm.
is what gets you in. And
Mm.
it allows instant family unification. So, for example, you can
Okay.
come with your family, your wife. If you have kids, fine, you can come with them as well. So, but that's the most underexplored. It is not
Yeah.
for lecturers. It is not for no. It is just for people who work in academia. So, for example, if you're a lab person, for example, or you are just analyzing data, say SPSS data for a researcher, and it is a
Mm.
paid job, you can apply to what they
Yes.
call a researcher hosting agreement visa. And maybe after the call, I'll send some of the links to Magdalene, and she can put them up
Okay.
on a page. So the four
Mm.
different types of visas, that's
Mm.
the those are the four ways through which you can come to Ireland. Those are the four main visa categories if you are coming to Ireland. So
Wow. Woo. Thank you so much, Dr. Shegun. We can go on and on and on, but of course we have
I
to
know,
wrap up. We have
I
to
know,
wrap up this program. And I
no
must say
problem,
this has been a very, very enlightening session. I
no
think one of
problem
the
at
things
all.
I really enjoy about this series is how I'm also learning more about different countries.
Sure, sure,
Um,
sure,
from our
sure,
guests. Thank you so
sure.
much. You did not hold
No,
back
no
anything.
problem,
You
no
poured it
problem at
all
all.
out, and then
Yes.
as much as possible. I know that people who are watching this session must have learned very, very amazing things from you as well.
Yeah.
So I want to
Mhm.
say thank you once again. If you're joining
No
this
problem.
channel for the first time, please subscribe to this channel so that you know when more
Subscribe.
contents are coming up.
Sure.
Next week we're having a little spice to this series. I'm not
No
going to
problem.
tell you till you subscribe and then you come and see what is going on next
No
week.
problem at all.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Shegu, once
Thank you,
again. I really
Magdalene.
do
It's a
appreciate
delight.
your time. I'm so honored. I don't take this for granted.
No problem at all. No problem.
Thank you everyone for
I,
watching, and
no
especially
problem.
those who stayed from the beginning of this series of this episode till
No
the
problem.
end. Thank
No
you
problem.
so much. See, we'll see
Thank
you in
you.
the next episode. Have a blessed week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.